we go. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Dan. Good evening, everyone. Oh, look. Speaker's gift. It's very nice. Nice to see you. Yes, my name is Paul Woodman, part of the leadership team here, and going to look at what it means to put Jesus first in life. And I've been doing these lessons in school recently just on what matters most. And so a lot of kids, some would write love, some would say family, friends. Some, I don't know if you're in this camp, would say football. Some people live and breathe football, don't they? And so Thursday, the fixture list came out. Does anyone nervously wait for that? No, just me. I'm there, 9 a.m., bang. So there's all these things that we can see as important in life, can't we? I guess generally, if you were to get a straw poll, a lot of people would say, put family first, wouldn't they? Do you agree with that? A lot of people would say that is the most important thing in life. So we'll have a look at what Jesus said about family and our priorities around there. If you don't know about the World Cup, it's 64 games of football, and then Germany win. That's all right. Although they lost today. So we've been looking as well at our church priorities, what things we think are important. So passionate spirituality, missional discipleship, and creative solutions. Some of the mad ideas that we come out with, we've now put into a category called creative solutions. So they now make sense. You got it? So anything that looks a bit weird is the pink one. Waffle trucks and the like. So that's us. So this is what Jesus said about family. And they're hard words. They're really strong words from Jesus, as he often did. So to his followers, he said, "Do not suppose that I've come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. I've come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me." It's a good Father's Day topic, isn't it, to take on. Dear Dad, just wanted to say, I got a Father's Day card. It said happy birthday inside, crossed out, then happy Father's Day. It was, the brain was playing tricks. So these words are hard from Jesus, aren't they? Because to all the people, the vast majority of whom say, well, family is the most important thing. Jesus said, no, it's not. The most important thing is this relationship with me. So it's strong words from Jesus, isn't it? And his context wasn't divorced from life. So you know that he had a mum and a dad. He had brothers and sisters. And his mum treasured everything about him, Mary. But his brothers didn't. And so there's a couple of verses we can look at where they would say things about Jesus which would have meant they're not following him, they're not believing in him, they're not pursuing his ways. So his own difficulties was with his brothers, who probably used to mock him a bit. It's like the old thing, though, isn't it? If Jesus is your brother, you're always going to be the worst brother or sister, aren't you, around? Like, why is he so perfect? He's the Son of God. So it's very hard for brothers and sisters to live in that shadow. So the brothers included James and then Judas, who wrote the book of Jude, James, who wrote the book of James. And there's a couple of times in Mark chapter 3 and John chapter 7, we'll read them out. When his family heard about this, they went to take charge of him and they said, he is out of his mind. In John 7, Jesus' brothers said to him, leave Galilee and go to Judea so your disciples there may see the works you do. And so this rebuke and this advice wasn't acceptable within that Jewish culture, is what our friend Carl Keating said. That would have been seen as a very disrespectful thing for a younger brother to be telling the oldest brother, what to do. And to be saying he was out of his mind, that he was mad. And so that was the context when Jesus said about his mother and brothers and following him. The context was that his brothers weren't lapping up every word that he said. And then we may have talked about this before, but the death and the resurrection of Jesus led to them believing that he was who he said he was, that he wasn't mad, he wasn't a bad person, but that he was God. And for me, I still think I said this to someone the other day, it's still one of the most convincing things, because you convince lots of people that you are something, but your brother and your sister, they know all about you, don't they? If you've got a brother or sister, you'll know that. If you haven't, you can imagine it. So James watched it all happen before his very eyes as a younger kid, watching Jesus' teaching, watching the miracles, and then watching this death and resurrection. And he changed when the resurrection happened, and he became a follower of Jesus. Then he became the leader of the church at Jerusalem. And then he wrote his book, his letter of James that's in the Bible. And so he turned around from one of the brothers that was saying, oh, he's out of his mind, and why don't he go off somewhere else, to being a firm believer and a leader of the church. As for me, there's no greater proof, is there? You can pull your wool over anyone's eyes, but not over your sister's or your brother. And so what did it really was watching this journey that we've been singing about tonight of Jesus taking up his cross for us. But Jesus said to, let's go back up one more. Jesus said, whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. So for them, obviously Jesus hadn't died at that point, had he, when he said this to his followers. So what would they have been thinking? And you know this already probably, but the Romans used to make that a humiliating death. They could have just killed people quickly with a sword, couldn't they? But the idea of the cross was that they'd have them into the main city routes. So as you went into Jerusalem or Jericho, in the main busy roads, there'd be a whole road, not of lampposts on the side of the road, but of crosses, where the criminals and the crooked and the perverters of justice, those who were trying to undermine the Romans, were put to shame. So they were stripped off. They were left hanging up there for days, sometimes 2 or 3 days, birds pecking away at them, all the rest. And then people would walk past and insult them and throw things at them, is what the historians tell us. So when Jesus says, take up the cross and follow me, he was saying it's going to be a life of humiliation and insults at times. It's going to be times when people are going to be spitting at you. You're going to be the scourge of people. So it's a hard word, isn't it, that Jesus brings to his followers at that point, that you're going to face this humiliation. We read it with different words now because we see the cross in a different point of view, don't we? But this is going back to how they would have seen it with the Romans putting up their lanes of humiliation, going into the cities to exert their power and their authority towards people. So Jesus says to us, take up our cross and follow him, that he would be the most important thing, that if it means insults, humiliation, or whatever, that we would do that because we love and follow Jesus. Now, you know how committed I am to preparation for these talks. So I actually went to the place where Jesus carried the cross just for this talk a couple of weeks ago. Well, I happened to be there anyway, to be true. So I went to the Via Dolorosa. Anyone been there? Sorry. How's my English? So Via Dolorosa means the way of sorrow. And so we got up early one Tuesday morning and we walked the route. There's like 2 or 3 possibilities of what the route could be, from the place where Jesus was tried by Pontius Pilate and Herod and so on, through to the place where he was crucified. There are 2 or 3 possibilities. One of the possibilities runs through the passage of Jerusalem. So we walked this. We got up really early in the morning before the shops opened so that we could have time to stop. And what some churches have done is do these stations of the cross, haven't they? So you have 14 stations of the cross, and then the 15th station is the crucifixion. So early in the morning, we got the chance to walk our way through, step by step, and to stop at each station and to think about that walk that Jesus made. And it's a very moving thing. So very moving to just have the time to think, what was it like for Jesus to carry the weight of the cross for me? Because he didn't want me to have that pain and that torment and that lack of freedom and that miserable life. He wanted me to have joy and freedom and peace and healing. And he carried that cross for me. So we walked our way through. These are my holiday snaps, basically. There we go. And we stopped. One of the places we stopped was where Jesus is meant to have fallen. So it said that Simon of Cyrene took the cross for Jesus at one point, didn't it, and held it for him. And then at the Stations of Cross, they say there's 3 times when Jesus fell, that he fell to the ground under the weight of the cross, the pain that he'd already endured at the Romans. And it is very moving, isn't it, to think that Jesus, the Son of God, came down from heaven and then walked this humiliating route for us, that he took on all that pain. People would have been hurling insults and humiliation and abuse at him as he walked down, spitting at him and all the rest. And in one of these places where he stooped down, another man was asked to take up the cross for Jesus. So there were 3 falls, and there were there's different traditions around this. Not all of them are in the Bible. Some of them are church traditions. But week after week, since Jesus died, people have done this walk on a Friday and all other days, going through there and remembering that Jesus walked this way of pain for us. That he walked this pain so that we could do this great exchange we talked about this morning of us receiving freedom and peace and joy, because he walked the pain. He fell so that he could lift us up. So I don't know if you've ever imagined what it'd be like to be Simon of Cyrene, to be there and take up that cross of Jesus. And maybe you were scared that you were going to get crucified at the end of it. But I suppose what I think about afterwards is what happened to Simon of Cyrene when he found out that Jesus rose from the dead. And this man that he carried the cross for was back to life again. Must have just changed his world, mustn't it? And probably the only reason we know his name is undoubtedly he joined the church. He must have been part of the church, because most people wouldn't have bothered to find out his name. So he would have told his story. Hey, I was the one who carried the cross for Jesus. So this is what I meant. I've just written it all down. So when it comes to our own families, this is the point. And life as a Christian, at times we might feel that we're treated unfairly, mightn't we? We might feel at times that people have insulted us. We might feel at times that we've been weakened, that our strength has been drained through our families. Anyone ever feel like that? No. That we can feel humiliated by the way people treat us. We can feel lost and alone. We can feel closed away. And so those feelings that we get in life as we live life as a Christian, probably most often the little insults and things are more likely to come from family because they're close to us. Why are you bothering with all that faith and religion? What's that all about? Or they don't understand us. So certainly for the church here, as we do things in the public space, a lot of people think, we don't want the church involved in this and that, and go back to singing your songs in your building. And so you can be misrepresented, you can be misjudged. And so as we walk through there, we think about the times when Jesus experienced those things himself, and that he identified with those moments of weakness and those moments of pain and those moments of tragedy and misjustice. And so when we think about that misjustice and pain, we know that that wasn't the end of the journey. I put the 14 stations up there. What was number 15? Resurrection. So the last thing is that all of these things are part of this journey. The death happens, but then new life comes, and this resurrection comes, new hope, new life. So Peter wrote it like this. He's got a couple of Bible verses for us. Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you, but rejoice inasmuch as you participate in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when his glory is revealed. If you are insulted because of the name of Christ, you are blessed, for the Spirit of glory and of God rests on you. If you suffer, it should not be as a murderer or thief or any other kind of criminal, or even as a meddler. However, if you suffer as a Christian, do not be ashamed, but praise God that you bear that name. Another Bible verse here that we probably know well. We view our light and momentary, it sometimes says, doesn't it? But we view our slight, short-lived troubles in the light of eternity. We see our difficulties as a substance that produces for us an eternal weighty glory far beyond all comparison. So what Jesus sets out is that as we walk this way of pain, maybe not even our pain, maybe embracing the pain of others around us that are suffering misjustices or that are suffering insults, that as we stand with them or we stand with our own suffering, that we know that resurrection's around the corner, that there's always that 15th station of the cross that's coming for us. So they're tough words from Jesus, aren't they, when he calls us to carry our cross and to follow him. We can live very protected and comfortable lives if we choose to, can't we? Or we can choose to step down to where there is pain, to where there is injustice, and embrace it alongside Jesus. So another strong word was this, that Jesus said, whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. It's a challenge for us, isn't it? Will we live a life where we give ourselves away, that we spend ourselves on others, that we follow the way of Christ wherever he takes us. And then if we do that, we'll find life. Or we can try and find our life ourselves, gather everything we can and protect ourselves and make ourselves as comfortable as we can. And Jesus said, if we do that, we'll lose it. We'll lose that life. So on the Via Dolorosa, it goes through the Muslim quarter and through the Jewish quarter and then through the Christian quarter. It goes through all the three world religions. And they sell these little things. Have you seen these before? I gave a few of them away. These little crosses, but they're obviously the thing to buy on the Via Dolorosa because it's most famous for the cross being carried there. And so, did I put it up? No. Just, if you can't see the small version, I'll just put it up on the screen there for you. So I bought some of these, and I gave some to some friends, but I've just this last week or so been giving them to people that I knew were in some really hard situations, that they'd chatted to me at different times and said we're struggling with this family situation or this, both of them being family situations. So I've given them these crosses, but I've taken a bit of time to build up a story behind it. So I've talked about how it's made of, or where I got it from, that I took it from Jerusalem, where Jesus died and rose again, and that this is made of olive wood. And so olive trees, I learned, are the most resilient of trees, aren't they? So the trees are very old. Olive trees are the oldest, some of the oldest trees. They make the ones in Lord of the Rings seem like saplings. And so these very old trees are old because they can survive anything. They can be cut down, they can be burnt, they can be cut at the root, and they'll still bounce back. They'll always recover. And so the Mount of Olives, which is full of olive trees, still has the olive trees there from Jesus' time. Even though the Romans burnt everything in Jerusalem, the Crusades went through Jerusalem and burnt everything, still these trees have survived. Like, it's had the most wars ever, hasn't it? And yet olive wood has survived. So I said to people, this wood reminds us that however hard life is, there's always resurrection at the end of it. There's always a bounce back. There's always hope. So it's a really good reminder for us of this olive tree thing. And then I tell the story about Jesus, how he died and rose again. In fact, how before he faced the cross, he went to the Mount of Olives. He went to where all these olive trees were. And he stood there and prayed with his disciples. And he was surrounded by these resilient trees, full of resurrection. And he went to the cross from that place, praying that as he went through the cross, knowing that he was going to be resurrected, just like these trees have done over and over and over. And so we can trust not just in the power of the tree, but in the power of Jesus and his resurrection. So I've done this little talk with quite a few people, and then given them to them as a present to their family. And I've said, what you need to do is remember all these facts, because they're really important, and relay them back to your wife and relay them back to your daughter so that they know all about this little tree. So if you'd like one of these, I've got one you can take at the end. Come and see me if you've got a situation where you think, I could do a bit of olive tree in my life. Come and get one. So last thing. I was just going to think about this. This little verse and then a couple of little thoughts, and then I'll wrap up. Paul writes this as a bit of a mission statement for himself. The Apostle Paul, when he wrote to the Colossians, the church in Colossae, he said, Jesus we proclaim, warning everyone and teaching everyone with all wisdom, that we may present everyone mature in Christ for this toil-like struggle, struggling with all his energy that he powerfully works within me. And I don't know about you, but at times I can get tired. Any of you get tired? And we can feel the work is too hard. So Nikki and I are both doing fundraisers yesterday, like sweating to earn our £600 and get some money in to support projects, because we want to work for Amber. We want to do some great work in some areas where women are treated badly and want to see freedom come to them. With the car wash, we want to get kids to the summer camp. So I'll tell you what's hard work. It's not washing the cars, looking after the teenagers yesterday. But anyway, so we worked hard yesterday, but it's this sense that we don't just work with our own energy, but we work with God's energy in us. And it's the only way we're going to do it, is if we're really full of his Spirit and really full of his power within us. And that's where the passionate spirituality really connects for us. So I was using a power washer all day, skillfully. Didn't take any paint off anyone's cars, apart from Pat's. And so, So she came, and everyone came. We didn't take any paint off any cars. So, but the thing with the power washer, just mention it. It's a very boy toy for Father's Day. The thing with a power washer is you don't need to have a lot of water to do a lot of work. So the hose pipe that we had was trickling out this water. It took about an hour to fill up a watering can. It was pathetic. But with the power washer on, all the power comes, the dirt comes off, the grit comes off, the cleaning happens thick and fast. It would have taken us a year to clean one car, but we cleaned about 20 odd. But the thing is, this is what this verse is saying, isn't it? That God wants to bring this strength into our lives. Like a power washer soups up the hose pipe. We need to live these souped up lives that are powerful, that people look and they think, how on earth have you managed to get that much done in a day? How on earth have you brought that much energy into a situation? It's because God's power works powerfully within us. So it's a good verse, don't you think? Last thing is I think we're entering a bit of a new chapter for us. We're doing some new and different things. We're doing some exciting things. But as we launch out, I was thinking back, and I was saying to I went to see one of the Connect groups in the week. You remember when you learned to swim? And I was quite short, believe it or not. When I was a kid, I was second shortest in my year group. And so we had a swimming pool. You know the way swimming pools work. You have a shallow end, deep end. So as you walk further out, you get to a point where it's there, then it's there, then it's up to your chin, and then you're putting your head back. So obviously I was short. So it was terrible for me because it meant my deep end was other people's shallow end. Do you see what I mean? By the time I got my chin up to here, some people only had it there, so I was in big trouble. So when we were learning to swim, I was about no more than a foot away from the end of the shallow end, and then I was sunk. So when you learn to swim, you remember this. You remember this, don't you? So you feel happy when your feet are on the ground, don't you, when you first start swimming. Then when your feet aren't touching the ground, you're unhappy, and you're stressed, and you're going to die. Definitely, within about a minute. You're definitely going to die, and the side of the pool is miles away. So then you step back a bit, and then after a while, as you grow, a clever thing happens because your legs grow and you're able to touch the ground further out into the deep end. So you can do this thing, I don't know if any of you ever did it, where you can have your feet on the ground but be pretending to swim. Have you ever done that? Anyone? Just me. You've done it. So you pretend you're swimming, but you're not. Your feet are still on the ground. But a good swimming teacher will spot this. That's what I learned at school. They'll say, get your feet up. You're like, they are up. No, they're not. So at some point, you've got to make the plunge, haven't you? And you've got to be properly swimming. And you're splashing and water's in your eyes. It's desperate. Tragic. So I think for us, we're at that point where, oh my goodness, we can't pretend and have our feet on the ground anymore. We've just got to launch out and go in faith. And then we know that we can't do it on our own, so we've got to move from walking or paddling, whatever it is, to swimming. And for us now, as we move out into the things Dan was talking about and as we've been speaking about, is to really launch out and say, okay, we're going to properly swim. And it's scary, and sometimes we're going to shout help, and God, it all rests on you, but that's a good place to be in, isn't it? So with the work Nikki and I are doing, but lots of other work as well, it does feel like we've taken the plunge now, and our feet are no longer touching the ground. And there's a lot to do, and we're kicking hard, and we're trying to stay afloat. But it's an exciting time. And that's where I think God calls us to, that when we put Jesus first, he leads us out into fresh water, into fresh ground. It feels scary, but we know that he will defend us left, right, and center, that he's always there, and that we can trust him, and he's got our back. So that's our talk for this evening. Should we just pray? And I'll just pray. And if you've got any particular family members or situations you want to lift up to God, then we'll just pray for those. Because Jesus does love the family. He just wants us to love him first. So, Jesus, we turn our eyes to you. We thank you that you love us. You want the very best for our lives. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. It can be scary. But we trust you, God. And we trust you with our family members that we care about. We know that you care about them too. And we pray that they would know that resilient love of yours and the power of your resurrection in their lives. In Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much.